Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for our weekly show brought to you by Join Cycling. The season has finished. No more UCI races in the 2025 calendar, I don't think, at least not the ones that the world teams will be doing. We've got a quick recap today of the last races in China, Holland, and in northern Italy, as well as a long section on UCI or World Tour licenses. We have the teams that have applied. We've got teams relegated, teams merging. So a lot teams surprisingly not getting their paperwork in time, which can have pretty serious consequences. And also a few transfers and a pretty strange press release out of the blue from the UCI. So long time no speak, Benji. What have you been up to last week?
It's been a while. I'm starting to miss you. I feel like we need to organize races ourselves in the middle of the week just to make sure we see each other more. But we'll talk about organized races a bit in a second. But first of all, races. The last couple of races of the season. It's been a pretty long season because season started pretty early for us together in the Tour Down Under. But I've really enjoyed my year with you, so thank you very much for being my partner in this journey. But stop the cringe shit. Let's get into the races, Patrick. Let's get into the races. Tour of Guangxi, best race of the year. And especially because when I look at the exact results of this race, the first 5 stages have the exact same stage winners as the Tour of Slovakia. So I think that defines quality start list, right?
Or the Tour of Slovakia was very, very good race and a better start list than it appears. Also,
that's what I'm saying.
The same rider in 5th on the Queen stage as both those races, I believe.
Correct.
Paul Magnier was unstoppable in the sprints. We had 4 just normal sprints, straight up sprints. We had 1 hilly sprint on the last stage, which could have gone either way. There was a big, it's like a 1K wall. Magnier won 5 of the stages that ended in a sprint. Stage 5 was the uphill finish to Nong La, which is a 10-minute watt per kilo test. And we had Paul Double attacking early on the climb, seemingly surprising UAE, Visma, Decathlon. Only Mikel Honore, I think, went with him.
Yeah, I think so. But is this becoming the MO of Paul Double? Because it's not the first time that he attacks earlier on the climb and gets away with it. Is it because other teams maybe still underrate him a little?
Probably, yeah. He did this in Copy when he won his stage in Copy on a similar, not a steep finish. So, yeah, probably he's underrated. I don't think he would have actually been underrated. For this race, I think Slovakia, like the Visma guys were there. They knew how good he was there. He won the race, dropping Lemon off the wheel. UAE also. I mean, if Kristen, like this is the perfect move for Jan Kristen to go with, sit on, play the card of Narvaez behind because the climb's in 3 parts, mega steep, flat, mega steep, and Double just rode everyone off the wheel that was with him. He was by far the strongest rider on the climb. Behind, we had no coverage of what happened. We saw in the flatter section, no one was chasing. Jan Kristen then attacked later across the gap and then didn't get across the gap. Narvaez was sort of stuck behind. And then Victor Lefay just dusted everybody in the sprint behind. Honore hung on for like 3rd. So that secured his GC podium position. No, 4th. Lefay moved into 2nd, Narvaez 3rd. They stayed the same on the next day. So Double wins not just the stage, but the GC of a World Tour race, which is a pretty big deal. And UAE don't get 100 victories. They get stuck on 95.
And you've got the Mexican National Championships technically coming up, but that does not count for the 2020. So what I'm trying to say is the Mexican National Championships are being ridden, I think, this week, but the season is already over officially. So that race counts for next season. That's weird, right?
Well, especially as it's mandatory that the contracts run till December 31st, which has to be changed. I mean, the contracts should run until October 31, or how many days are in October? Don't know. They should run till the end of October or on the last race. 30?
31.
31? Because I don't even know how it works from an insurance and liability perspective because you're working for your new team in November and December.
Yeah. I don't know.
Riders have tested positive when they're not in the previous team structure, but still, I think, contracted by that team in November, December.
I don't have an answer to that because I think we've seen that scenario before. I can't recall the exact rider that was for, but that is certainly an issue with the situation. But it's also next to that, it's also illogical in general that we see riders, for example, right now I see on Belgium News headline Remco Evenepoel goes to the Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe training camp. He's riding for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe on the road.
Them.
Yeah, he's working for them already, but he's still contracted for Soudal Quickstep until the end of the year. And do we have to consider CX within that scope of if this becomes a restructured idea where the date changes, would that impact CX in a certain way? No, they would just start on the new team for the CX season.
Yeah, I think the new CX season starting, and that counts as next year's season.
Yep.
Also, they're not. I mean, CX, yeah, CX schmecks. So,
Ruud, as a Belgian, I need to stand up for my beautiful.
When was the last time you watched a full CX race?
2019, I think.
Maybe we might have to. If the road
Patrick
races
and Benji watch a CX race and react to it. That's it.
From what I can tell, it kind of just goes like the big road races.
Now, but we gotta watch the ones where Eli Iserbyt versus Laurens Sweeck versus
those ones look good.
Those are the ones where we need to step up and make a podcast about, I reckon. With 17 viewers, because that's the amount of people that care about CX.
In the Anglosphere, maybe that's the case. The Tour of Holland happened. The first edition, it was a few sprints, some very technical parkour. They didn't have police marshalling, so they had to stop one of the stages. They had like volunteer marshals and drivers ignored them. And then on the local circuits, the races were better. They had the Vanberg circuit, that was a very good stage. And then they took the gravel out of the last circuit. There was a prologue and a TT. Christophe Laporte won GC. Merlier won a sprint. Van Poppel won the last stage on a late attack, which was pretty cool. So yeah, Laporte, good to see him back winning after a tough year of sickness. Tarling, similarly, good to see him back winning after a terrible crash in the Giro. He won at Chrono des Nations, 30 seconds ahead of Vine. And then I think the race of the last week was Veneto Classic. It was really, really good. Vermeersch was in a group ahead. Florian, the UAE rider, he just won Gravel Worlds. And it was in a group with two Uno X's. They were fighting the Cofidis rider. I thought, okay, Vermeersch will win. Uno X will just ride against the Cofidis rider. Turns, maybe.
Yeah, but it was turns against Lurland and another Uno X rider, but I think Versnes. But doesn't really matter. The situation before the race was at Chrono des Nations the same day, the last day, racing day of the season, Uno X had already scored more UCI points than Cofidis. So for Cofidis to beat Uno X in the UCI World Tour rank, because that's what this race is about. This race is about the 3-year ranking that defines the World Tour licenses for next season. The fight between Cofidis and Uno X. And Cofidis had the near impossible job of Uno X. Well, Turns had to win the race, and Uno X had to not finish within X amount of riders. I'm sorry, but Dylan Turns was never going to do that. I'm sorry. It's never going to happen. So at the end of the day, it's Uno X that wins that race. But it was actually a pretty good final, no?
Good final. So we had Mercer was the best rider on the gravel. He punctured. Ulisi was the best rider uphill. He can't go downhill nor ride on gravel. His Strada Bianca results bear that out. Despite him fitting the parkour, he fully just couldn't do the gravel descent. And Lowland got dropped on the climb. There's one other puncher there. De Preto was good, but he got dropped by Ulisi. And then it all came back together, and basically it's a very technical finish. Vermeersch did the same thing he did in Roubaix when he came third, the wet Roubaix. He did a half sprint with no commitment trying to attack with like a K&a-half to go instead of trusting his sprint, instead of committing to the attack. And then when it came to the technical corners, Lowland just went first wheel, put everyone on a gap in the corners, very good at bike handling, and won the race, his first pro win. It was, cool, pretty good final to watch.
I think so as well, and that brings us into a very big topic, which is UnoX versus Cofidis for the UCI World Tour licenses next year. But before we get to that, Patrick, we've got an appointment, and everyone listening to this as well. On Thursday, 8 p.m. European time, I don't know what the other time zones mean for that, we've got a Zwift race organized by Joint Cycling, and I'm ready to beat you up on the bike, my friend.
It's at 8 o'clock, 23rd of October. It's the Makuri Islands. The route's the Makuri 40. Ooh. It's also 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's a lot of talk from Benji. I've seen he's been doing these races like every day. So he's got this practice in, but...
Mate, you're cooked. You don't even know it yet. But to be clear, I think a lot of people are sometimes scared of starting a Zwift race or taking that on, but the reality is you can ride it at your level. And especially in these joint cycling events, I was riding in the previous joint cycling race we did in 180th position. I was having a cool fight against other people at my own level. And it doesn't matter if you think you can't do it, just try it. Just try it. Join us, have some fun with us, and finishing itself is already a nice commitment. So, well, to be honest, I'm here to beat people on the road, my friend.
It makes the hour go really, really fast. The hour last time went really, really fast during the race. So we hope to see you all there on Thursday at 8 o'clock European time.
Patrick,
when do the clocks change?
I've got no clue, but I've got an appointment set on Friday already for my neck, because I'll be looking behind me in the race all the time to see where you are.
When do the clocks change? Okay, so yeah, you don't need to worry. The clocks change this Sunday.
Okay. I don't really care when the clocks change. I just let it happen to me.
Yeah.
We're YouTubers. We don't need to get out of bed on a Sunday.
Most Sunday mornings, the time doesn't really... An hour here, an hour there. Not a big deal. Okay. See you all there for the joint LRCP Zwift series on Thursday. News. UnoX promoted, as Benji said. Cofidis relegated. I think if you're by a computer, if you're on your phone, maybe, if you got if you can read something, we just published on LanterneRouge.com the great article by Raul Bancari, which is he's got all the graphs, everything about the final 2025 UCI ranking. And probably this segment, it's linked down below in the show notes, so you can click on it now. If this segment will make more sense, will be easier to follow perhaps if you have that open in front of you. But what has happened finally, Benji?
Well, in short, UnoX finished in position 19 in the UCI World Tour 3-year ranking, which defines the top 18 getting a World Tour license for next year. Yes, top 18. And yes, I just said that UnoX finished 19th, but because Lotto and Intermarché are quote-unquote merging, that becomes one team, and that's why the 19th team will also receive a World Tour license next year. So UnoX won that battle against Cofidis, and I do want to talk about the consequences of that for each of those teams, and maybe have a little bit of a discussion where it went wrong for Cofidis and whether UnoX will survive in World Tour in the next 3 years, because those are two sides of the coin that I do feel like are worthy to discuss before we go into any other side stories when it comes to the UCI World Tour ranking, etc. But for UnoX, Patrick, what does this mean in terms of the races that they are forced to ride versus the races that they can skip, etc.?
You have to do Tour Down Under. You have to do the Giro. You have to do Guangxi, which I don't know if they did it. You have to, and they scored, I think, UnoX, it says in the article, they were the fourth or third best team on the minor calendar. On the non-World Tour calendar this year, UnoX scored the third or fourth most points, behind just Astana and UAE. That doesn't work if you're having to also attend the World Tour, or with also your good riders. So how they balance that, the depth of the team will be tested a little bit, but I think it should be like, for the classics, doesn't that just mean you, instead of doing all the minor Belgian classics, you have to trust that your guys, Abrahamsen, Varenschold, Tiller, they can do the bigger classics? I mean, they won Omloop this year. It means that Johannesson, I mean, he does just World Tour stage races. There is obviously a real, with Christoph retiring, they have a real shortage in both sprinters and GC riders.
And that, bro, on one end you've got Tobias Holland Johannesson, but will he be able to repeat what he did at the Tour de France this year? Will that become a common thing on a yearly basis? That we don't know, but I actually believe, to be clear, I'm super happy UNOX is becoming a World Tour team. They deserve it. They've been on this long journey to do so, step by step, building up. Whether it was Jens Haugland running the team back in the day to now Thor Hushovd running it into World Tour. They've worked on it step by step. But I really think that this is the moment, the next 3 years, where the Scandinavian-focused transfer policy will be stress tested at its maximum. Because I think this is where the limit will lie in the next 3 years. Because their transfers, they can't just sign an Italian GC rider based on their policy so far, you know? They can't, well, to be honest, Italian GC riders is not that many on the market anyway. But in Scandinavia, the pool is not necessarily gigantic, I would say, eh?
Exactly. I mean, it basically means they have to sign Schelmos there at the end of next year.
Or Pedersen in a last retirement.
But for the next 3-year cycle, to compete in Liège, I mean, it simplifies things, but yeah, if a good Danish or Norwegian or maybe Swedish rider pops up, they have to sign them. They have to go after them.
Schelmo's a great call, especially considering the conversations he's had to the press recently that sound a lot like that man is not riding for Little Trek after next year.
But that means more money, because it's Matthias Schelmos that he's in demand from 20 teams because he's such a good rider.
There's a caveat there. He's in demand for a lot of teams, but there's also teams that policy-wise don't sign him because of his doping history when he was younger.
Yeah, maybe a few.
Yeah, but that's a
true,
factor
that
limits him a little bit.
Then there's the available, but he's a good rider, and so they can't just assume that every Danish or Norwegian rider, they'll take a hometown discount because it'd be so great to ride for us.
Yeah,
it's also their careers, so they're going to have more money in. Now, maybe they will get more money in because the sponsor will see, hey, we have a World Tour license now. We're guaranteed Tour de France participation for the next 3 years. That's the benefit of the World Tour license.
And it's also a big brand behind it. Like, UNOX is not a tiny company in Scandinavia, you know?
And I think this is a good thing because they're a better team than Cofidis. They have been this year. They're on the upswing. Cofidis did terrible signings and got punished for it. It wasn't like 3 years ago. I think Lotto could have easily stayed up, but they just didn't optimize their calendar whatsoever. Whereas Cofidis actually had a good farming calendar, their riders were not good enough to score points.
Do we think that UNOX becoming a World Tour team will make their development team more attractive for the youngsters that sometimes chose the Visma development team like Nordhagen, etc., over the one of UNOX?
UNOX don't have one.
Really? I feel like
they shut it down, I think.
Oh yeah, they shut it down. I completely forgot about that. You're right.
Because that's like Haugetun is second-year junior next year, and I think he just goes straight to the pro team. Well, now world team.
They shut it down 1.5, 2 years ago. Yes, you're right. And that means that, because I vividly remember that this team worked together with lots of like club level teams, etc. But then there's directly the World Tour team. So they're kind of in the situation that Ineos was in before 2026, which is that you've got this World Tour team, you've got a club level team, and you've got a space in between where riders will have to jump to somewhere else before joining your team. And when they jump to somewhere else, that's when you can lose them, you know?
Exactly. It's pretty risky to loan a rider to another continental team, which are all Devo teams at this point. So, yeah, and that's where Decathlon's winning, right? That's why Decathlon has Rasmus Pedersen.
Yep.
Was he on their Devo?
Yes. He became Danish champion on their Devo, I think.
Yeah, so I'll have to do an analysis. I'm sure they'll do it, but basically every good Danish or Norwegian rider that's out of contract in end of 2026 is going to be rubbing their hands together.
The return of Torsten Tran. It actually increases the value of the Scandinavian riders because there's a team desperate for them.
And if you're good, like they have to sign good. All due respect to the team, they've done really, really well.
Yeah.
Half of them, I couldn't pick them out. It's like it's a misc rouleur. And no, it's true.
But it's a misc rouleur, but somehow
that's also most of the world teams.
Is there a reality where the Alpecin Uruguay farm is being outsourced to UNOX? Because I swear there's Norwegians popping up that suddenly can do more than I expect.
Because the Scandinavians can't actually position.
Yeah, but they are strong like a cobble.
I know they're good in the cold, but actually like Rasmus Tiller's actually surprisingly bad in the hectic. They are very strong. I agree.
I'm sorry. Dversnes.
He's
Broe suddenly winning a sprint. I didn't expect it after he won the Tirreno stage.
I think Watts-wise, in the cold weather, whatever, I agree. But that doesn't mean he'll be in position in a classic. But anyway, whereas the Uruguay probably got no Watts, but they through the peloton and they know where to be. That's the difference.
If you send Søren Warenskjold to a Paul Magnier schedule to the Slovakia Tour of Guangxi, do you score as many points?
No,
I don't think
because
so.
Manier's for his victories, he's more scored victories, not points.
Yeah. Well, he's got 2,400 is my guess.
I don't reckon.
I think I watched it yesterday. I think he's the 11th most scoring rider of the year.
Really? I could just read the article. He's not in the top 10.
He's 11th. I just checked. He's 11th.
Yeah,
he's not in the top 10.
Yeah, could Varenskjold survive Britannia Classic, Hamburg, Frankfurt? Maybe.
I'd argue.
Maybe not.
If you can win Omloop, you're pretty good at surviving certain things.
Yeah. In Deutschland,
Passive Omloop, though.
He must have done 600 watts for 5 minutes in that Germany stage that Van Poppel deviated in. Varenskjold, we're the one he won. He must have done 600 for 5. Yeah. Okay. So UNOX, I think it's well deserved. They planned for it, and now we'll see how they adapt. Cofidis, it's not all over for them. They will lose the World Tour license. Now, assuming everyone's finances are in order, assuming that other teams don't fall out, which we'll get to in a second, but I think the head of Credit Mutuel, which I assume is the parent company of Cofidis, the actual company, correct. He quote tweeting saying they still fully support the team, they're going to rebuild. Arguably, this is a good thing for Cofidis. It forced them to change leadership at the top. Vasseur was let go. They now have the former head of Look, the bike brand, Raphael Jeune, in. They are a pro team who have all the wild cards, so they can pick and so instead of doing the Giro where they score no points, they can send their best riders to farm on the French Broe schedule.
But you're saying there, because they scored X amount of points this year, they are part of the top 3 pro teams this year, and because of that, get all the wild cards next year that they want, but optionally, so they can skip a few races. But the downside is that they need to be within the top 3 pro teams every single year to keep that benefit. Because if they don't, then they don't have automatic access to the Tour de France or the Giro de Vuelta. But then the other upside is they're French, Patrick. So even if they are absolute dog shit, but still finish within the top 30 of the World Tour ranking, then they're still going to be invited to the Tour because they're French, right?
They're always going to get invited ahead of the Unibet Rockets. If it's on discretion. So they and the Vuelta probably, and then they got the local French top pro races they'll get invited to anyway. So it's not that bad for them. There's actually, because they do compete with Total, so then it'd just be Total and they would get it. assuming someone else took. So say the Rockets took their auto wildcard next year.
Total won't exist in 2027 based on.
Ooh, I think the sponsor leaves and they become like just a smaller French team.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, there's an option there. Possibility for survival.
So that's what happens to Cofidis. They go down. UNOX looking like they're coming up. Israel and Lotto are going up. Now, in terms of the pro teams, before we get to the UCI list that was published yesterday, the pro teams, apart from UNOX, Tudor finished 13th in the annual ranking, so they get the first wild card to all the World Tour races. Q365 finished second. They were 19th of all the teams this year. And then Cofidis, as Benji said, they finished just behind Q365. So Total Energies get the one-day wild card. I don't even know. Yeah. I don't care. And
yeah, I swear this was back when it originated. The 4th and the 5th in pro teams, like at the moment Total and Caja, would get the access to one-day races.
Yeah, Caja.
But now everybody starts to talk about access to all pro series events instead. So I don't know if that rule changed without me knowing it, but I'd like to think it's one-day races and pro series events, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, maybe it is one-day races as well, but indeed, Total Energies and Caja get invites to all the pro series events. So you could see Caja Rural get a mandatory invite if they want it to do Surf Coast Classic in Australia. Not sure they'll make the trip, but in theory, the organisers have to extend an invitation to them. And that's the pro teams. So Q365 and Tudor are sitting pretty. They got money, they got points, they got good riders, they got access to all the events that they want to do next year. So Cofidis are also in that bracket. Now, to complicate matters further, yesterday the UCI published a list of the teams that had submitted their paperwork, which is bank guarantees, the essential documents you need to show that you can viably run a team next year. And of course, the date to submit it is not December 31. There needs to be a bit of lead time because, what if stuff goes south? You need to give riders a chance to actually find another team. That list was published yesterday. And everyone was on it that was expected or not expected. So Intermarché were not on the list, expected. The teams were going to merge, and so we have Lotto on the list. So assuming that Lotto will become the license, with Intermarché not even applying, that opens up that 19th spot we discussed for UNOX. The couple of surprises, one bigger than the other. A small one, Pinarello Q365 is what the team will now be named. So they will be moving to Pinarello bikes next year, that Q365. They applied for a World Tour license. You never know. Maybe a team falls out and you get it.
Yeah, maybe someone forgets to give in the paperwork in time, but we'll get to that in a second. But that's a logical change for me. Pinarello Q36.5. I remember seeing that Pinarello remains at Ineos for the next couple of years, the foreseeable future, but Pinarello is owned by Glassenberg, who also owns Q36.5, a South African billionaire, if I recall correctly. So the same guy owns those two brands, the same guy runs the team. So it was logical that eventually Pinarello would come in and replace Scott as their bike brand. And now we see that in reality. Pidcock was already riding it in the mountain bike. So it's a logical change there. And you're right about the application for World Tour license. Let's say that hypothetically, a team like Jayco Lula would not give in their paperwork in time, which is exactly what happened. And if they continuously fail to do so, in this case, Jayco has been given an extension, but then that might open up a spot for Q36.5, which I don't think that's going to happen here. I think Pinarello Q36.5 will become a pro team, and I think Jayco Lula and Livalula Jayco, who have currently failed to file their paperwork in time, will, with the extension they were given, solve that in the coming period. I spoke to Brent Copeland, the person running the team there, and he said it was bureaucratic issues, which they hope to sort in the next few days. So let's hope for them that works out. But it does mean that we had a Cedrin Kerbao case last year, where Serrazit WNT, her previous team, didn't file their paperwork in time, which means that the riders on those teams are technically free to sign elsewhere after October 15th. So Jayco Hula, for example, Luke Plapp is allowed to leave and ride elsewhere. A hypothetical example here. So do we believe that that will end up happening here, or are we just thinking about an imaginary danger here?
Well, it's a pretty serious problem.
Yeah.
I mean, if any one of your riders can email you today saying I'm terminating my contract, free of no buyout, nothing, that's what Cedrin Kerbao was able to do. That's what... Did a quick stepper do that back in the day in like 2013?
I don't know. Couldn't tell you for the life of me.
Yeah, anyway, it's a pretty serious problem. Now, the reality is what teams have a lot of money laying around on October 21, what teams have slots available, what teams can move that fast in a week, what teams want, some of the riders on. But Paul Double, on his first pro contract, oh no, that's not true, he's on Human Powered Health, but Paul Double on probably not a lot of money.
Yeah.
On the Sunday, he wins a World Tour stage race, and on the Monday, he can terminate that contract and say, I'm open to offers. Now, it's not, I mean, it's
risky
not
business,
ideal.
though.
Well,
But I agree.
well, it's not. The team hasn't submitted the paperwork in time. This is your one career. What are you going to do? Like, be like Simon? Remember what Simon Clark waited, hoping that Q365 or what they were called, NTT, would sort it out until December, and then they're like, actually, nah, not happening.
And I kind of feel like I want to have a larger discussion about this, because this was the exact thing that happened in 2022, where B&B Hotels, whose manager was Jérôme Pinault, they failed to file their paperwork on October 15th because their finalization of a potential new sponsor wasn't fixed yet, but he stayed hopeful, etc. And as a consequence, the B&B Hotels men's and women's team ended up getting extension by extension by extension by the UCI until the end of November. That's a month before the next season starts. So many extensions, and then the teams folded, and half of the riders were on the street last minute without reasonable caution that the team would fold by the manager, which is why I'm pretty negative about Jérôme Pinault and how he handled that situation as a team manager. But that's why I really like the fact that if a team fails to give in their paperwork in time, that as a consequence of that, the riders are free to leave the team. Because then they have the freedom, if they don't trust the situation, to act accordingly. But on top of that, I think there's an argument to be made that the date, the October 15th deadline, should potentially be moved earlier. And the thought process goes as followed. In this year's Lotto Intermarché merger, for example, you've got staff members and riders just knowing in October that they might not have a contract for next season. 15th of October is already super late in terms of cycling transfer. The majority of cycling transfers happen in the first 8 months of the season. I'm probably being conservative by saying that. So, considering that...
First 5 months of the season.
Yeah. I would much rather see this date move to September 15th or September 1st. I know I'm treading on a line where in an ideal world, it's as close to the end of the season because the UCI World Tour ranking is not finalized, etc. But on October 15th, it's also not finalized. We literally saw the fight for this between Cofidis and UNOX happen after October 15th. So it's a 3-year cycle. You've got enough space that the results of the UCI World Tour ranking are relatively in the right place, that it's 2 or 3 teams at that point in the season on September 15 fighting for that. So I think that's not a reason not to move it earlier. The fact that it's not finalized whether a team will be World Tour or Pro Team, because I look at it from a rider perspective.
Cofidis applied to be a world team anyway.
Exactly. I look at it from a rider perspective, because at the end of the day, this is a difficult situation because we're on the same exact topic here as when we're talking about labor laws when it comes to contracts, etc. For example, when Ketones Brooks tried to leave Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, then he uses the labor laws of default labor laws, not the how it's presumed in sports, because in sports, let's be honest about it, contracts are different than a normal employer contract. And that's why we have that discussion of transfers and buyouts and stuff like that, where on paper you can, by labor laws in Belgium, for example, leave the team when you want. But in a sport, that means that a team has invested in you and for multiple years, etc. And then you're kind of breaking a unwritten rule in the sport by doing so. But on the other hand, when we're talking about this exact topic, then we're talking about a situation where riders have, from October 15th, basically 2 months and a half to find a new contract. Otherwise, they might just not have a team for a year. Their career might literally be over.
Yeah, and that does happen to riders, and it's made much, much worse by the fact that right now we have Wanty and Lotto trying to merge 58 riders into 30 slots.
Yeah.
So there's Wanty or Lotto riders left without a contract. Arkea are folding.
Plus
all
dev
those,
riders.
Yeah, and dev riders. Arkea, they're all without a contract if they haven't gone to other teams. And who else? Wagner Bazin. There's loads of riders, and then you're trying to find a new contract. Say, if you let it play out and it doesn't get resolved in a good way in a month, and on November 20, you're trying to find a team. I mean, if you're a really good rider, it's fine, I guess, but probably you're still going to leave money on the table. It's not ideal. So I haven't seen it being spoken about much. Like, when I first saw it last night, I literally went, whoa, what the fuck? That was my reaction. Because, it's like a big deal, I think. So
I think so as well.
Probably gets resolved. I think it maybe happened before. Probably gets resolved. I doubt any of the riders will change from Jayco like Kerbal did. I mean, Kerbal was different because she exploded that year and then was on a really low contract. And so she was just, on big demand, and then she could break it. I don't really see the same happening with the Jayco rider, except maybe double.
Yeah, I've got a similar feeling, I would say. Maybe on the women's side, there's a rider that I haven't thought about instantly that could make a similar move, but actually a good call. Actually a really good call. That's a rider that, as an opposing team, I would be jumping on after this news. But I think that actually, there's one more thing. Israel Premier Tech will, according to these files, be renamed to Cycling Academy.
Oh, I think that's a placeholder.
Also, as placeholder, okay.
That's just like that's what it was always called.
Okay, then I have no clue what it's going to be called. Because it's weird, Premier Tech has to be involved in the name, no?
Yeah, I don't know.
But the Canadian flag would suggest that it's going to be registered in Canada instead, no?
Yeah, they're going to register in Canada. So yeah, what is this? What else do we learn from this release? I think
some stuff.
All the teams. So the new American Pro team did submit their paperwork. Modern Adventure Pro Cycling, Hincapie's Venture, and Colpack, now called MBH Bank CSB Balan, is also applied to be a pro team. So we have another, I think that's like Hungarian Italian.
That's odd to me. Colpack Balan was always the kind of like team that would like ship up Italian youngsters like Baroncini back in the day. And now being a pro team feels odd to me. But I guess it's just because we're not used to the fact anymore that development teams like Sport Vlaanderen Baloise, Flanders Baloise, whatever it was called or still is called, is a pro team. But at the end of the day, the majority of dev teams are not in that anymore, are not pro teams anymore. It's kind of a change that happened with the formation of dev teams within the pipeline of World Tour teams, whether it's a Visma dev team, etc. there's a bigger cap there, and it's not really a pro team filled, I would say. But
if you're not an affiliated Conti Devo team, you should become a pro team.
Yeah,
because that's the only way you can get value from development. It's what Androni did with Savio. So you get the youngsters in, the Egan Bernal, you sign them to a 4-year, 2 years in, they start to explode, and you get the buyout money. If they're on a Conti team, you get no buyout. If they're on a Devo team, if they're a continental level team, you get no buyout money.
I do think a real conversation has to be made within this sport about the amount of money that, hypothetically, I am now a pro team. My name is Benji Naesen Development Team. I've got a fantastic rider. His name is Patrick Broe. And he's got like 6-star potential on Pro Cycling Manager. He's going to have 85 mountain in the Tour de France next year. Super big talent. UAE gets him from me. I, as a development team, receive a little bit of money. I'm talking a tiny bit of money for deving him up to becoming the top rider he is. That amount of money needs to be expanded. I don't know what it is, but in women's cycling, it's a joke, right?
It's like 200 euros.
You can't do anything with that.
Saint Michel. When Visma signed Bunel.
Yeah.
Like they developed her, and you're right. Like I think, and Bas was talking about it for Unibet, and because the Devo teams get the value themselves when they develop young. When Brennan gets developed for their own team, there's the value. But that's why Kolpak, like the only way we can get the money is to sign them to pro contracts, enforce big buyout sums, and copy the Bardiani Androni model. And that's why I think they did it.
Why would you do that? If you're that talented?
Because they're going to take bets on non-hyped guys who are talented. So let me have a look. Who was it? What's his name? Filippo Torconi. He's under contract until end of 2027. 4-year pro team contract at Bardiani.
Yeah.
They're hoping that he explodes next year, and then in 27, someone buys him out. That was the pro teams. Okay. Transfers. Apparently, Edward Plancart has cancelled his transfer to Soudal Quickstep. This was in HLN. If you go to Pro Cycling Stats, you'll see that Quickstep have 31 riders listed for next year, which is impossible because you can only have 30. They signed Filippo Zana late when he became available. And now they announced the signing of Lawrence Rex. And that brings him to 31. So apparently Edward Plancart will stay put at Alpecin.
Basically, the inside story, according to HLN, is that he signed for Soudal English. He signed for Soudal Quickstep. He realized during the Vuelta that Alpecin is his home. He went to Jurgen Fourier, the manager of Soudal Quickstep, and said, okay, I'm in this trouble because I'd like to stay at Alpecin, but I signed a contract with you, Soudal Quickstep. And they found a solution together. And then eventually that led to Quickstep instead going for Laurens Rex. I honestly must applaud. I don't know the inside story. I don't know if I'd like to believe that order, because if I read this, I applaud the way Soudal Quickstep handled it.
They must
or is there a different order that you're inferring?
They must have known Rex was available.
You think it's the other way around? You think Quickstep said, no. We're taking Rex instead. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe not. There's just no way. There's no way you announce a rider, 3-year contract, who's going to be the key leader for Paul Magnier, who's pretty good. And then he's like, I'm not feeling it. And you're like, no worries. They must have known they could get Rex.
I'd like to believe that the humane side won here, which maybe I'm thinking too naively here.
It's not a breach of his human rights violations to lead out Paul Magnier.
No, but what's the point in having a rider in your team if
Just
you
unhappy.
prefer
yeah, I
to
know.
be in another team? That's also kind of a thing where if I come to you, Patrick, and I say, Patrick, I would like to be part of the cycling podcast instead. That's a weird comparison. He would shoot me. I would get killed. No. On a serious note, I could be either way, but I'd like to believe the utopian naive story here.
Anyway, they Plankart's out.
Who's better?
That's the better discussion.
Haha.
At what?
I think Plankart's a better lead out, X a better cobble rider.
Yeah, probably. Yep, that's the case. Plankart's much more versatile. That's why he's such a good pairing for Manier. He can get over a 2 to 3 minute hill really, really well.
Yeah.
And climb pretty well. Rex can't climb, but he's a cobble monster. So Paris-Roubaix, he's almost, you put him with Sturven and Van Baarle.
Antwerp Epic.
Yeah, flat cobble races. He's really, really good. But yeah, he's not the versatile lead out that Plancart would have been for Paul Manier. Because, look, Plankart's usually paired with Groves in stage races.
Talking
Okay.
about versatility, the UCI had versatile statements on ketones over the last couple of years, I would say. Because the one thing I did not have on my bingo card was entering October, I think 19th or 18th, waking up, seeing a UCI announcement, and it's saying UCI release a statement on ketones. I'm like, ketones? In big old 2025? And the TLDR, the summary of how I read the declarations that the UCI is saying is that in the past they've never banned ketones because it's a chemical compound your body produces, blah, 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 that whole story. But in this they then conclude, UCI says that recent findings show that ketones don't have benefits, so we don't recommend using them. Now, first of all, I don't know if the UCI saying that ketones aren't effective makes me believe that ketones aren't effective. I judge that based on whether teams use them or not. If teams use them or not, then I'd like to believe that there's a reason for them to use it in the first place. But on the other hand, why the hell do they release a statement like this?
This is one of the strangest things I've read recently. And I do feel like recently there's been a lot of like UCI media articles coming out where you just like, I don't disagree with this. I don't agree with this. I just think it's weird. And like the tone of it is weird. Like this year I've had that reaction more to like a lot of like these releases where I'm like, this is just strange.
Yeah.
Do
we discuss the
Nah.
parallels with David Lapartien's Twitter page, or
That's crazy, man. Yeah, it's crazy.
do we need to discuss the context here, or?
So Nicolas Sarkozy, who was, I don't even know. I wasn't following the French elections when I was 12 years old in 2000 and whatever. We're not doing politics
Sarkozy
again.
Sarkozy was the president of France back in the day.
Okay.
I think he is now a criminal
That's what,
because
he's going to jail, so
Suppose-
I would hope he's a criminal.
I'm trying to make sure I don't say anything wrong here. Okay, I don't want to start another
Nah,
uprising in
he's
the
going to
fan base.
jail.
He's going to jail because I think the funds for his election campaign in whatever year came from a foreign nation. I think it was Libya. Now,
Okay, let me read it from France 24.
okay.
Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy is starting a 5-year prison sentence after he is found guilty in the so-called Libyan case. Prosecutors said his aides, acting in Sarkozy's name, struck a deal with Gaddafi in 2005 to illegally fund his victorious presidential election bid 2 years later, from France 24. So he
his
went
election campaign was fraudulently funded by a foreign nation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's going to
So-
prison today.
He's going to prison today, and on the same day, David Lapartien tweets, and I quote, I have a friendly thought for my friend Nicolas Sarkozy. He adds him, by the way, because you can see they're real friends based on the fact that he tags him in the tweet. On this very special day, you're going to jail, bro. It's not that of a great day for Nicolas Sarkozy. That I'm talking too much commentary in this tweet. The quote continues. He's a great servant of France, which he loves so deeply. I can testify to his energy, his enthusiasm, and his courage. He loves people. See you soon on the bike. Sincere friendships. With a picture of Sarkozy on a bike. What? I'm sorry, but what?
I'm still not sure it's a real tweet.
Bro,
it's not a sarcastic
glorifying
one.
A criminal.
It's not sarcastic, right?
I don't think so.
Anyway, that it wasn't on my bingo card on Twitter. I was like, what? A solidarity tweet with Sarkozy. Anyway, back to ketones. I don't really know what to say, Benji, because it's the UCI. There's a good article in Cycling News about this actually today, which I pretty much agree with and spelled it out in greater detail. But it's very strange that a sports federation comes out and says we don't recommend this nutritional supplement to be used, but it's not banned. And what's more, the comprehensive high-quality study that they're basing this press release on, it's not even linked. It's not even linked. It's like, okay, what study? Share the study.
Yeah.
Did you do your own study?
But you're just cementing ketones in this gray zone of like, ketones, in my opinion, had come to the point where, in large, it became relatively accepted in the sport of cycling. And now the UCI is putting it into a gray zone again, which it will only fuel people into thinking the sport is as doped as crazy, you know?
Let's do a role play. We're at the Tour de France Grand Depart 2026. Okay. You are a non-NPC, because NPCC teams already they weren't allowed to use ketones.
Yeah.
So you're a non-NPCC team, a foreign team. You're a rider on that team, Benji.
Yes.
I'm a journalist. It's the first cycling race I've covered this year, and I work for like a large broadsheet newspaper. Do you use ketones, Benji?
Fuck yes. They're expensive though, so
why do you use a product that the federation governing the sport recommends it should not be used?
Because it's allowed to be used, and I disagree with the UCI statement that I'm quoting this rider. This is not my quote, to be clear. Don't take this out of context. This is the hypothetical rider saying, I don't agree with the UCI study that recent findings show that they don't have benefits. My studies show otherwise, so that's why I use them.
But the UCI says there's a high-quality comprehensive study saying there's no benefits, and there could be negative health effects from it. Why are you taking this supplement? They might even call it a drug.
I'm risking my life on a daily basis. You think I'm scared of the dangers of ketones?
So you're a high risk. You're willing to risk whatever it takes to win.
That's what I do on a daily basis in this sport.
And now I'm going to write the headline for you.
Yeah, you will.
Now I'll do the headline.
Which newspaper are we talking?
No, it could be any of them. It could be star Tour de France rider uses grey area supplement despite despite UCI saying they shouldn't use it.
And then a picture of me on a bicycle, a 100 kg podcaster.
But seriously, I mean, we laugh, but that's what happened with the CO stuff.
Yeah.
Like with the hemoglobin readings. Like a journalist had never heard of it before, even though it's been used for 20 years, and they were a long form piece. And then the UCI was like, at least the UCI actually brought in rules with that. There's no new rules with the ketones.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very strange to read. They should link the study.
But I think we've spoken about, well, I'm not sure that was a very happy conversation, but I think we need to end on a very dire note, Patrick. There's been a disturbance in the force. I vividly remember you being super celebratory the other week, and that was despite the Mets doing horrible. We have a headline in the sport of cycling. Herald Sun Tour, the mythical race that brought us legendary cyclists like Jai Hindley. The race is dead again.
I know. Before it started again. So, I don't know what to say.
So anticlimactic. You hyped it up like it was the Tour de France. It's a week later.
It was going to be the Tour de France.
I'm laughing, but it's actually quite sad.
It is a shame. I can understand it's difficult to keep the teams there so long. I don't know why it's not happening. But anyway, we've got the Tour of Oman. So we've got the Tour of Oman, which is the second Tour de France coming later. So I love the Tour of Oman.
What is it with you and deserts and little hills at the end of races and flat, straight lines through the desert? I'm sorry, but
you got
how
crosswinds.
does it inspire greatness?
You got crosswinds.
We have that in the Moeren.
Crazy big bunch sprints where only the best can win.
Brugge de Panne, if they stay upright.
They changed the finish of that. It now finishes in Bruges, not de Panne.
Yeah, and it's also a different name, no?
The Great Sprint Classic.
Before it was called the Grand Crash Classic.
They had to change it. It was too dangerous.
Yeah,
and
rebranding.
Then you got steep Unipuerto finishes. I love the desert races.
Muur van Gerardsbergen?
There's no race that finishes on that. Even the race, the Gerardsbergen race doesn't finish like on the proper top of the Muur. It finishes on like the little halfway bit.
On the Westen.
Finishes on the Westen.
Just in case there's a sprint that they're not they would never sprint on the Muur, so that's a silly reason.
Yeah. Anyway, is there any other... The Wanty riders... Oh, there is another transfer.
What?
Benoit Consefroy.
Wow.
He's going to UAE. He's going to UAE Team Emirates.
Is it officially confirmed?
A Brittany newspaper said he'd already picked his bike up from the service course. That's confirmation.
Sorry, but media speculation, buddy.
No, he's going. I'm so scared of him going there.
Because you think he's going to become good at UAE Team Emirates?
Yeah, dude. Yes.
I expect that too. Like, I expect a good Benoit Consefroy. If they can limit his partying.
Or his knee injury issues.
Who was the rider that fell with his luggage again this year?
Vocola? No.
Yeah.
Was Vocola?
What is it with French riders and getting celebratory injuries or traveling injuries?
I don't know. But yeah, Consefroy at UAE kind of makes sense actually. He'd be there, what? They've not had a lot of French riders. They had Brunel, that didn't work out. He ended the contract early, and then Consefroy is like the next French rider they've signed. So they actually have not
Sivakov?
really...
Ha!
Okay.
Checkmate.
You got me on a technicality. I think Consefroy will be good there. He'll go with Kevin Vermarca and he'll go farm some stuff in Italy. Those hilly races, farm a special. He could launch Pog on the Cipressa if Narvaez wants a little holiday. I think, and there's also other riders. So there's Lotto and Intermarché riders that still might transfer. So stay tuned. All right, we got the Tour de France route reveal reaction pod on Thursday afternoon.
On the same day?
What do we normally do? Do we wait for the
do we need
LFR?
Notes? Do we need notes for that to be made? I'm down to do it the same day, but I'm not making any notes if it's the same day.
Might do it. Maybe we'll do a Friday morning, maybe to wait for the profiles.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll put pressure on him to get
When do we do our award show?
The week after.
Okay, I'm ready for that. I've been cooking up some hot takes.
What takes could be hot?
You'll see, buddy. You'll see.
I mean, we saw the hottest possible. There's nothing me or you could tweet hotter than what we saw on Twitter today.
Roglic literally won the most prestigious race ever in Andorra the other day.
Oh, the Andorra Classic.
Yeah.
I did not deign to go down 10 minutes to the city to watch that.
I'm happy for the riders. cashing on 150,000 euros to ride a fucking crit that nobody cares about, I take it.
I don't think I would.
If you're the rider,
I wouldn't do it.
why would you not? That's bullshit.
Yeah,
I'm
but you
calling
know how
cap.
much. Yeah, but you know how much they make.
150k to just ride
Yeah, but
around the fucking mountain for a day.
you spend all year going here and there, training camp, altitude, race, and then you get a couple of weeks off. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
150k is how much is a
Bro, Pog
Grand
makes
Tour-
15 mil.
how much is
minimum.
the bonus of Jonas for winning the Vuelta? It's not more than 150k. I don't believe that. It's going to be around that though.
Let's say Pogacar makes 15 mil. So this...
Yeah, but then Roglic and Del Toro are also there.
Okay, but
But even
that's
if you're Pogacar-
150k is 1% of his total income, and then he's got to spend a travel day there, do all the stuff there, and then a travel day back. That's 3 days. That's 1% of his year.
That's 60% of his car paid off by just riding around the block in Andorra.
I'm not doing it. I'm having a holiday. So,
You're not on 15 million. I'd hope so.
yeah, if they offered me
Maybe that's why
150k
Visma
to
doesn't
ride
have
my bike, of
transfer
course
money.
I'd do it.
Maybe that's why Visma can't pay any riders. They're paying it all on you. Your 50 million euro contract.
If I was making 15 million euros,
You'd still be doing the podcast?
yeah, for sure. But the setups would look different. Don't you think? I mean,
The setup would look different. It would be very minimal difference, I'm telling you. Just like a golden chair.
so let's say what's 1% of someone's income? So let's say someone's on 60 grand, so 600 euros. Would you inconvenience
That's a lot
yourself?
of money for a lot of people.
Yeah, I know, but say you're on 60 grand and then you have 20 days off a year. Would you take 3.5 to 4 of those 20 days to do extra work for 600 euros?
For 600 euros. I think
Luke says
70%
no,
of the
never in all caps.
70% of people would say yes to that question, I think.
It depends. Obviously, I know, everyone's financial situation is different. You have dependents, debts, whatever. But I personally, yeah. I get why they do it because also it is 150 grand.
No. On top of that, you forgot to say that it's a free 4-day holiday to Andorra.
It's not a holiday though. You got people asking for photos and all the stuff they say.
Mate.
Pogacar has a jersey that says no photos. He made a jersey.
Drowning here in the UK in the rain. I am begging for sun.
The weather here is
I went to the
unbelievable.
doctor today.
It's so-
My vitamin D, it's all the way on the opposite side of the planet. That low. I haven't seen the sun in years, Patrick.
The weather in Andorra is very, very good at the moment. The key difference is though, these guys got nothing to do after 35, 36. So they may as well make hay while the sun is shining.
Exactly. I'm going to go as far as saying if they reject 150k to ride around the block in Andorra, they don't deserve to earn 15 million a year.
They also had to do an uphill TT. Up a really hard climb.
Yeah, but Pogacar was doing it in zone 2. I saw him crossing the corner.
I legit don't think he did it in zone 2. I think they legit pushed.
I looked at the way Pogacar was going through that corner. It did not look
that's
like
how he
Pogacar.
fucking looks, doing 7.2 watts per kilo, winning Lombardia. That's how he looks.
I'm sorry. There is no way that they were pushing and Pogacar finishes third place behind Del Toro and Roglic
In the sprint.
in the road race. You're not going to tell me that's the case. He can do half a watt per kilo more than
Nah,
them.
you can't do zone 2 up that section of Galena. Not even them. You can't. It's too hard. It's so steep.
Unless you join us on the Joint Cycling Zwift race on Thursday. And after that race, you can do 7.9 watt per kilo.
After that race, you too shall be offered hundreds of thousands of euros to ride around a car park.
That's the end of today's podcast.
All right. Thanks for listening as always. We'll see you with the Tour de France route reaction. Ciao, ciao, ciao.